I wanted to start my presentation today by asking a question for some reflection, which is, do you say soda or pop when you're talking about a soft drink? Uh, well, it turns out that that may be due to your location, your answer, whether soda or pop. It looks like in the Northeast, based on this map, they say soda a lot, but out here in the Midwest, they like to say pop, apparently. But everyone has their own answer as to what they say, and I'm here to tell you how that's formed. And that's formed through social norms. The saying soda or pop itself is a social norm, which is, or it's part of our language, but the slang is a norm. And it's a social norm is a shared standard of accepted behaviors or pattern of behavior that is shared by an entire group of people. And these norms come about through social construction, which is the actual pattern or idea that is occurring in this group. It happens, but it's invented by the actual society itself. So, greeting someone hello, simply saying hi when you're waving to someone is a social construction because it wasn't there before we were here. It's something that we made up ourselves and we have internalized as real. It's something that we all do. It's something generalized across everybody as a greeting. And that's an example of a socially constructed norm. And the causes of this, of social construction and how it's perpetuated over time, is socialization, which is the process of actually internalizing the norms and ideas that are presented to us by society, by the groups that we're a part of. Socialization is important because it is a pivotal mechanism. How it's how society reproduces itself. It's how it's perpetuated over time. It's how these norms are passed over time through generations, and how they're passed in between people to others in the groups that we're in, and in the families and the groups that we exist in. If a person is socialized, it means that they've accepted these norms, the norms that are uh, in their society. It means they've internalized it. It means that they live by them, and it means that I wave hello as well. It means that I do things that are accepted within our society and perpetuated that we created and have internalized ourselves. And this also occurs with some agents of socialization, which could be your teachers, your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, your educators, and even mass media, social media, movies. These norms can be presented to you by these agents of socialization and are easily internalized and replicated in that sense. And there are two parts of socialization. There's the primary socialization, and then there's secondary socialization. And primary socialization is usually during childhood to adolescence. Um, I mean, it's when you learn just the basic right and good, basic actions that you'll do in society, like looking both ways. This is and usually primary socialization occurs with primary relationships as well, which are these close relationships, which is being a parent or being a grandparent, something like that. And you learn basic skills, and you just learn the basic right and wrong behaviors, and you learn basic values, attitudes, and beliefs that can be attributed to your family and maybe passed down and internalized within specifically your family. And again, this is specifically during early childhood to adolescence. And once a person or an individual can sort of generalize what the other is, what another person is, and how they may act with according to them and within society, then their primary socialization has ended. The next part of socialization is secondary socialization, and now this happens throughout your whole life, and it's not really attributed to learning basic values or right and good, but it's more specific responses to new situations. So you're presented a new situation, whether that's a new role or a new setting. That could be like enlisting in the military, and you have to uh, elicit specific responses in order to function within that role or group or society. So when you do enlist in the military, you may address a higher ranking member as sir. or you end a sentence with sir. And that's a norm that's perpetuated within the military and learned specifically by the military. And that's an example of secondary socialization. And again, this happens throughout an individual's whole life, and it happens as a person encounters new groups and these new settings. So basically, socialization is how you learn these social norms, and that's how they occur within your life, whether it's primary or secondarily. And why that matters, and this is exactly how it occurs. So primary plus secondary, and that's how the social norms have been formed. We're socialized by our primary relationships, then we're socialized by roles in new settings, and then the actions of that society have been internalized as social norms, and then we will then in turn act on them. There are some theorists who have some theories about why this kind of socialization matters and how it occurs. So Durkheim believed that we are socialized by our society, and that our society shapes the way we act. So again, just primary and secondary socialization. But we needed this to happen, and we need to be socialized so that we can get a sense of solidarity, and that's how society survives, and that's how groups prevail over time. And he argued that because traditional societies managed to obtain the solidarity mechanically through religion and through just family ties, just that kind of traditional ideals. But he believed that leads to anomie, which is the breaking down of moral and ethical standards over time. So he believed that this kind of society led to the breaking down of these standards and led to a weakened society, and it wasn't going to lead to its survival. So in order to combat this, we have organic solidarity, which is that people should rely on education and work to gain a sense of organic solidarity. So that means that people would come together organically and just through these institutions rather than these traditional values. And then Marx had the conflict perspective, which was the idea that classes would always be in conflict. That's very, very on theme with Marx. But he believed that because of this constant conflict over resources and power, the group in power at the time would use their resources to maintain this. So they actually would socialize you through institutions like education and in the workplace in order to remain in power. So that would be just like working, and that the group in power controls your socialization, and that's the conflict perspective. So those are some ideas about how socialization can be used in society and how you may be controlled by it. And then it's important to note that socially constructed norms are still impacting our daily lives. They're still real. People still act this way, even though they're socially constructed. And that's important to note. And that can be noted in the example of gender roles over time. Women weren't allowed to vote for a long time. The women's suffrage movement occurred, and they gained the ability to vote. And before that, it was normalized for women to not be able to vote. But yeah, and another thing that is important to keep in mind is social media and how that may influence the way you act and the norms you have. It's important to not get stuck in an echo chamber of your own thoughts and ideas, which is easily achieved on social media, just swiping TikToks and algorithms. And it's important to note that what you see is catered to you, and it's not typically normal. So it's always important to challenge the ideas that are presented to you and what you believe in. And norms can be perpetuated through social media by influencers, by the people that your friends that repost stuff, and people that are on social media. And there are also norms within social media. Everything has a filter, which can be very damaging to one's self-image, and it's important to keep these things in mind when you're acting on a daily basis. And then there are also some personal implications, which what are you going to do? You have to recognize these social norms and then act on them. So in conclusion, we have primary socialization, which is being socialized by your family in early childhood and adolescence and primary relationships typically. Secondary, specific responses to new settings. And then that forms norms and how we act, and which can be perpetuated over time. And it's important to challenge these norms because they can be damaging. It could be could be being controlled, like the conflict perspective, or they could be something that may not be the best solution to what you're trying to accomplish in life. So, yeah, and then these are my resources, and that's my presentation on social norms.